The topics and opinions expressed in the following show are solely those of the host and their guests and not those of W4CY Radio, its employees, or affiliates. We make no recommendations or endorsements for radio show programs, services, or products mentioned on air or on our web. No liability, explicit or implied, shall be extended to W4CY Radio or its employees or affiliates. Any questions or comments should be directed to those show hosts. Thank you for choosing W4CY Radio.
Welcome back, everyone, to the Geeks, Geezers, and Googleization Show, the home of Googleization Nation, where we talk with HR and business thought leaders about the crazy shift going on in the world of business, technology, and HR. Here's your host, Ira Wolf, and co-host Keith Campagna.
Happy Thanksgiving, everyone. Keith and I have a very special show lined up for you today. It seems that despite all our differences and all the disruption going on around us, Thanksgiving's that one day where all of us seem to put aside those differences and let our kindness shine. So today we have the perfect guest for the show, Erin Michelson. She's CEO and founder of Summery. That's Summery with an E. We'll talk more with Erin just a few minutes. But in celebration of Thanksgiving, Geeks, Geezers, and Googleization is sharing the Kind quiz, that's K-I-N-D, with you, and we'll be doing that through Giving Tuesday. If you want to follow that, it's hashtag Giving Tuesday, which is on December 3rd. So you might be wondering what the Kind quiz is. It helps you. It's about a 5-minute quiz, very quick, easy. It's online. It helps you identify what your social impact values are. Mine was generous. Keith, what was yours?
Discerning.
Yeah, discerning. Yeah, my second one was experimental. Do you remember? You know what yours was?
No, I don't.
Okay. So no surprises, but I think they hit us dead on. We'll be talking about that. And you'll find out why this Kind quiz is so important. We talk about it all the time. If you've been listening to Geeks, Geezers, and Googleization, you probably already know what we're talking about. So stay tuned for Erin, our discussion there. And by the way, after you complete that 5-minute quiz, you will get a 3-page overview of your kindness profile. Erin and her research has identified 98,304 different combinations. So we're all we're all unique, but we're all have a lot of similarities too. And the best part is that Summery will then make a data-driven donation. We're going to talk about what that means. Yep. But a data-driven donation to a nonprofit reflecting the collective Geeks, Geezers, and Googleization listeners' shared values. So we'll be announcing that on Wednesday, the 4th. So you can take the Kind quiz today. You can access it at www.thekindquiz. Again, that's kindquiz.com/GGG. It's important you add the /GGG to that to make sure that we get credit for it and that we get that donation in your behalf. Or you can go to Geeks, Geezers, Googleization. I put up a pop-up there. Wait about 5 seconds for it to show, and you just follow the easy link. So, again, you can go to thekindquiz.com/GGG or go up to geeksgeezersgoogleization.com. Wait for a couple seconds and pop it up, and please share the link with everybody. The more the merrier, and we'd love to see what everybody's kind values are. Like always, we want to thank Zor.ai and Success Performance Solution for helping us be on the air. And speaking of kind, we've got to thank all of our Geeks, Geezers, and Googleization listeners. You are the best audience ever, and a growing audience at that, too. We've been on the air for a little over a year. We've recorded 60 shows and started Googleization Nation, and we keep getting bigger. It's amazing how many people each week say they're listening and are commenting, especially on LinkedIn and Twitter. So thanks so much, and special thanks to all our guests, too. We've had some rock stars, and we got another one today. We've learned. We keep learning from these experts and from you too, from the listeners. So, and thank you, Keith, for being by my side for all the support and insights and picking up the slack. So, what is new with you coming up on Thanksgiving?
This is home for a couple of days. Yeah, it's my pleasure to be sitting next to you. You know that, and it's really wild. I mean, for everyone, it's been a year since we started the show, and I've gone on such a roller coaster of professional type adventures. So it's, recently there's just been a lot more of building out the consulting concept, life work integration for HR. I will have a venue. I have a venue here in the Lehigh Valley, looking to do my first actual workshop in January. And then Philadelphia is venue number 2 and New York City venue number 3. So there's a lot going on.
And speaking of venues, my venue, well, it just got picked up. I'm doing a Philly Sherm. We're doing a half day, so anybody listening from the Philly area, January 30th, we're doing a half day boot camp, a morning boot camp down there. That'll be fun, our Recruiting in the Age of Googleization, but just got selected again for Sherm Talent. So I'll be speaking out down there this year. It's in Orlando. And then from there going to Louisiana Sherm State Conference in Baton Rouge.
Wow.
So fortunately that they were back-to-back. There was a couple other ones along the way still waiting to finalize get the schedule. I
gotta get my shift together here and start submitting for some of these talks.
Yeah, there's a lot of them, and so we'll be going down there, and then virtual online. We're starting to get some enrollees and participants in the recruitment marketing for the Accidental Recruiter. We got a Black Friday special, so if you go up to the website, you can click on that and get it for actually 60% off.
60% off, ladies
for the
and
year.
Gentlemen.
So everybody get up there, and I've got about there's 26 lessons so far, and 50 more coming.
Nice.
So
nice.
Yeah, so we got a lot. So that brings us back to Thanksgiving and the Kind Index, and we definitely want to talk about this. And one of the hottest topics, and especially end of the year, everybody's saying, what are the trends for 2020? And certainly today's topic is probably going to cover it all. We've got, because certainly one of the things that we talk about is the candidate experience, and that's not so much on today's agenda, but we talk about company culture, hiring people that fit. We talk a lot about the soft skills and upskilling, and there was a report the other day, I've got to find it again, and talked again about the soft skills are going to be the most important skills are going to be soft skills, not hard skills. And the soft skills are empathy, emotional intelligence, compassion, and
absolutely,
and involved in leadership,
patience,
and all those things. So today we're going to be talking with Erin Michelson from Summery. Her company basically combines AI, company culture, values, helping people get to what makes, what value drives your empathy. So a little bit about Summery before we get there. I pulled this from the website. Summery uses scientific methodologies and AI-powered solutions to help you cure, and I love this, what Erin calls common culturitis.
Yep. One of the funniest videos I've seen in a while.
That's a great video. Yeah, we'll put that link up as well. But common culturitis causes many of your workforce problems surrounding company culture, recruitment, retention, risk management. So, Erin, welcome to Geeks, Geezers, and Googleization.
Great, thank you. Thanks, Sarah. Thanks, Keith. I'm thrilled to be here.
Yeah, so appreciate it. So, Erin, you and I met on a similar, well, not a similar venue, but we met online at a virtual conference for Bright Talk a couple of months ago, and we were talking about company culture.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, and then following, so we had a great conversation. Our colleague Jennifer Leek was on the call, and we had a good discussion. And then you and I connected afterwards, and took us a couple months to make this happen, but we're there. So
yeah, here I am. Here we are.
Yeah. So let's go back. I mean, company culture is huge. You would think that company culture was driven by people, and it obviously is, because when people want to hire people, well, unfortunately, people want to hire people like themselves, but people want to hire people who share the same value, and that's becoming more important. And, you probably read more articles about toxic cultures than we do about positive ones, but they're out there. But how did you get into this? I mean, how did you select this, and, what the journey to, people have been trying to measure company culture for years, but now you're using science and data and AI. It seems like an interesting recipe.
A great one.
Yeah, Yeah, thank you. Yeah, so we're taking a very sort of hard science look at it, and actually have built the tools using machine learning and natural language processing and other types of AI advanced technologies to actually quantify what you're referring to as the soft skills. So quantifying individual values and company culture. And by doing that, we're actually able to score and measure the alignment between who the company says they are, their stated culture, versus the lived values of their employees, but the lived culture of the organization, and come up with an actual numeric score, which again is, as we're looking at human capital and ways to measure human capital, that has been missing. And so we've developed the tools to do that so that we have a good understanding of what the culture actually is, not what we want it to be, not what we aspire to be, what actually it is today, and then how we could actually move that culture in a way that's not necessarily around cultural fit, but around complementary values. That's what we look like. We don't want everybody to be the same. We want to have a really great mix of values because that's where you're going to get the diversity and the real innovation in a company.
So let's start with because again we're throwing around a lot of terms, and you're obviously backing it up with evidence and data and science. What are some of the values that you measured? I mentioned earlier that I came out with this kind quiz, and again remind everybody to go up to thekindquiz.com/GGG, or go up to Geeks Geezers Googleization and click on the pop-up that'll come up and complete it. It's free, only take you about 5 minutes. And I came out as generous and experimental, which was pretty cool. It pretty well summed me up. Keith, you came up as
discerning.
Discerning and compassionate, actually. Keith his secondary value profile is compassionate. Yeah.
So how did you define? And again, I live in the assessment world, so there's lots of items and lots of names given to this. But how did you come up with I think there's 10. And let's talk about them for a minute. There's 10 social values.
Yeah. So what we did is we built our own corporate culture dictionary. Actually, we have a proprietary dictionary that our data scientists. We have behavioral, data, computer, cognitive scientists, and information scientists on our team, and we actually created our own corporate cultural dictionary of more than 3,000 words. And out of those 3,000, we distilled it down using both our own methodology and several other very well-known behavioral science methodologies like the Big Five and the Moral Foundations Questionnaire. And again, we distilled it down to 5 key values that we measure. And those are empathy, integrity, agility, innovation, and disruption. And we measure that both on the organizational side and on the individual side. And so what the Kind Quiz does is we measure it from an individual values perspective, and then there's one of 10 different overall kindness profiles, and 5 of them are basically core profiles. So a core agility. So Ira, you're generous is a core generous, a core agility one. And experimental is really core innovation, as well as 5 composites. I'm actually a mix of 2 composite profiles. But those 10 actually represent 98,304 different combination of choices, because the quiz actually assesses not only your values, but also your engagement preferences and social cues and some of the causes that you like that are, of course, matched up to the strategic development goals. And so, again, it came out of our own proprietary research, and then we're able to encapsulate it into, 5 values and 10 profile types.
So the list that, one is, if anybody goes up to the site, which is Summery.ai, and again, Summery is with an E, not an A, but Summery, and you look at the team, the About team, you have a lot of rock stars on your team.
How about
I know.
You have
their pride and joy. It's their backbone. Yeah,
it's pretty impressive of the people that are driving this, because normally, again, I've been in the assessment world. I've always used assessments, but I've been exclusively in the assessment world for, this is my 25th year. And I got to tell you, there's a lot of test publishers out there, and and they're good people, and they've got good assessments, but I wouldn't put them in the rock star category when it comes to science on the back end. They kind of follow the norms, but you're definitely far ahead. So congratulations on that, for sure.
Thank you. Thank you.
But on the list
our core team.
Go ahead. Sorry.
No, I was going to say our core team has been with us for since the beginning, for several years. We're a young company, and our team, and we just brought on 3 people.
How long have you
About
been
3 years now.
Okay, 3 years.
About 3 years, and the core scientists have been with me more than 2.5, if not 3 years. So the entire team we're intact, and we just had a 2-day offsite last week in San Francisco, and it's incredibly fun and incredibly exhilarating to be breaking down barriers and really pushing the forefront of using AI to quantify culture, which is what we're doing. And also, I did mention to Keith, I think you might have read it as well, we do have a data science paper actually on our website that's free to download that goes into our scientific methodology for people who are really into it.
And I read that since you and I talked, and to the listening audience, what Erin and her team are doing at Summery so very much aligns with what I'm trying to bring to the forefront with life-work integration. It was just so fascinating to be able to talk to Erin prior to the show today and hear about what the market's really coming around to recognizing as very important information. And we talked briefly about the skill sets being really the value transitioning from the hard skill sets, technical skill sets, into those softer interpersonal skill sets. Erin, can you share with everyone listening in what are the companies, how are they responding to the type of insight that you're providing them when it comes to exposing this newfound science?
Well, it's interesting, it's across the board. So we work in multiple verticals. We're a high niche player. So again, we have, just 2 measurement tools, and we provide data analytics summaries, summary reports, which is where we get our name. And then what we think is really crucial is not only do we take that information, but we activate it. So we use the 98,304 different combinations to data curate social impact activities to move or nudge values. We're talking about behavioral economics now, to nudge values in a particular direction to start to build out a company's culture. So for us, it's really about measurement, and we have 2 tools for that, one of them being the Kind Quiz for individuals, and then we have the Net Culture Score on the organizational level. We then analyze that data through our data analytic reports, and then we activate that data through highly, highly personalized data-driven curation, which is exactly what we're going to do with the donation we're going to make on behalf of GGG in a few days. So that allows us to look at the value profiles and then actually activate it in some sort of social measure, social means. And in this case, it's going to be a donation.
So I know you've worked in the you just announced kind of a big undertaking with education, which will be interesting. But are there, and we'll come back to that, but are there industries that are more receptive or that you've been working with a little bit more? And then also, Keith and I work with a lot of small, medium-sized businesses. I mean, is there a size that would be, is there a minimum size to be able to participate in this?
No, not really. I mean, that's the beauty of AI, right? The more data, the better, always. But we can deploy our measurement tools with any size. So we're working in the corporate space. Our first revenue generating client was Salesforce, brought in there by their innovation and technology unit. We work in the edtech space. So just what you referenced, Keith, we just launched the Kind Quiz education version. We're actually out there. We tested with Stanford and the University of Texas at Austin and General Assembly and Holt International Business School and the community college system. And we're actually now in the California community college system rolling out the Kind Quiz for faculty, students, and administrators, which is incredibly exciting for us. And then we're making announcements. We're in stealth mode with some of the largest global foundations in the world with a PhilTech approach, which is the combination of philanthropy and technology. Summery is considered a pioneer in this space around activating philanthropic values on the individual and organizational level. So we're doing corporate, we're doing education, and we're doing philanthropy or social impact.
I love it. There's no holds barred. I love it.
Yeah. Why stick to one? Exactly.
I want to change lanes a little bit here, Erin. We also have a lot of let's say business listeners, entrepreneurs that chime in, millennials who are looking for good ideas to try to build upon what they consider a good idea. And I want to go back about a minute and a half here. You're working with Salesforce. You're working with Stanford. You're collaborating with the best of the best that's out there. How did you get to them? Maybe just share a little bit of the behind the curtain with the audience here. I know that you and I spoke, so I know a little bit about your background, but did you just knock on Salesforce's door one day and say, "Hey, I've got a super good idea"? How'd you get there?
Yeah, it's interesting. Let me go back to address your original question. So we also do work with small businesses. So we're working with a biotech company that we're announcing in January that's under 100 employees. So yes, we work with global Fortune 500s, but we also work with smaller companies. So it's absolutely something we do, as well as small nonprofit organizations. So we work across the board. But yeah, no, we actually got into Salesforce because certainly through personal networking, I actually have a career in global finance, and I have 3 degrees, but they're in political science. And so I was giving a pitch one day, actually, and the person, Brian, who was recording the pitch, it was a pitch competition, and he was recording it on video. He sent it to a friend of his. He was really intrigued. He sent the video to a friend of his at Salesforce, and, literally by word of mouth, we got in there. So it's great. I think people like the Kind Quiz. They like their value profile. And so there's a virality to it that's almost 1-to-1. That's, astronomical, really.
Yeah. Awesome.
So what's the process look like? So let's say I'm an owner of a small organization. Send my people up and they do the Kind Quiz. What happens after that? What's that look like? Because it's a lot of these assessments are you call it a quiz, which is probably what it is more than an assessment or a test. But people get the results. Everybody says, "Oh yeah, this is me. This is really fun." What happens after that? I mean, how are companies actually using this, ultimately, and how do you get paid? Because the Kind Quiz is free. So what's the next steps look like?
Well, it's free to you because we are a social impact company. Actually, Summery is. So as part of our pledge 1%, we open it up to the public and we give a donation. So it's actually coming out of our own values, our own social impact values of the company, which is why we're able to work with you all and to provide a donation for data. So we do work with a lot of smaller organization and events and things like that. So like Women in AI, Women for Good, we work with all types of startups, give back, all types of organizations we're happy to work with on the basis. So, but it's not free. We do have we're a SaaS software company. We have a $5,000 minimum, but we can launch in 24 hours, like literally. We create a specific URL for the company, and that's to make sure that we segment the data. And we could customize it. There's off-the-shelf version. We could customize some of the data screens, the demographic screens. So not the data science or behavioral science questions, which are highly, highly tested, and that's a 3 to 7 step process that we could talk about to make sure it's anti-bias and all of that. And then we also do complete custom quiz rebuilds as well if you have a particular corporate culture you like to measure. So we work in 3 ways. But a company will bring us in, we'll launch the quiz. Usually we launch it. We have all kinds of communication templates and things that are all proven to drive engagement rates of over 60, 70%. Our last clients have completed profiles, which is huge. Mm-hmm. And usually 2 to 3 weeks. 10 days, 2 weeks to gather the data. We then go back to the scientific team and we create what we call a summary report, which again, a data analytic report. So the individual employee who takes the Kind Quiz, as you said, just gets an immediate 3-page overview. And it's really fun. It's actually highly, highly tailored to you as an individual. We match you with celebrities. And so that you immediately see, we also email it to you. And just by participating, again, we give a donation of every single person who takes it. You're generating a donation as part of that cohort. So the individual, we feel from a data ethics perspective, it's very, very important to empower the individual with their own data. But we are also a SaaS company. So, the company brings us in and pays us, and then we analyze that data of the individuals, both from the lived values or individual perspective, as well as the organizational perspective, and that's through the Net Culture Score. And with the Net Culture Score, we're actually looking at creating what we call scorecards for an organization, where we use natural language processing, scraping, and scoring of publicly available information for an organization, like the quarterly earnings reports of the Russell 3000, for instance. We have job descriptions. We use mission and value statements, sustainability reports to actually gain an understanding, again, of who the company wants people to think they are. They want the public to think they are through their publicly available information. So at that point, we have the individuals taking the KIND quiz, which is our individual measurement tool. We've gone ahead and assessed the corporate culture, and then taking those two, the net culture score and the KIND quiz results, both on the individual values basis and the company cohort basis, we're able to then assess and score the alignment between the two. Now, once we have that alignment, so that's a baseline. So nobody has that. We're first in the game with actually being able to score and numerically score the alignment, right? And so once you have that, we talk to our clients obviously and say, is this where you want to be? Is this the set of complementary values you want? Does this represent you? And so looking at the complementary value makeup or profile overall, and then we start implementing, social impact campaigns to nudge behaviors in certain directions. So if you want to bring out more innovation in a company, there are ways to do that through activities and team design. And so we implement it. So all of our clients' values are measured, they're assessed through a data analytic report, and then they're activated. Those are the 3 steps.
So for all our listeners out there who who value company culture, they talk about company culture, you talk about bringing people in, you talk about purposeful leadership, which unfortunately too often becomes buzzwords. Erin and Summery has now brought science and data, and there's no more guessing. There's no more of this soft kind of BS. Hey, we got a great culture. Well, now there's ways to prove it. Yep. So, hey, just want to remind everybody, you're listening to the Geeks, Geezers, and Googleization show. We got our guest, CEO and founder of Summery, is Erin Michelson. We've been talking about company culture and bringing scientific methodologies and data and AI to that. We're going to be taking a short break. We're going to hear from our sponsor, Zor.ai. Speaking of AI and Success Performance Solutions. So stay right where you are. We'll be back in 2 minutes.
Imagine how your company would grow if your candidate experience earned a 99% approval rating. Well, to get to 99%, you need the 3 best letters in recruitment technology, XOR. Zor's text bots, chat bots, and audio bots increased IKEA's candidate conversion rate 455%. Zor decreases candidate drop-off rates, improves your candidate experience, and collects analytics for future strategies. To learn more, check out Zor.ai. That's XOR.ai.
Hi everyone, this is Ira Wolf, author of Recruiting in the Age of Googleization. I'm excited to announce that my online course, Recruitment Marketing for the Accidental Recruiter, is open for business. This course is the culmination of a 2-year-long project and releases recruiting tips I've learned after hundreds of hours of research, speaking with thousands of conference attendees, and interviews with dozens of experts. It's all available to you in Recruitment Marketing for the Accidental Recruiter. To receive more information or get started, visit our website at www.successperformancesolutions.com and click on the tab, Recruitment Marketing for the Accidental Recruiter. So welcome back to the Geeks, Geezers, and Googleization show. I'm your host, Ira Wolf, and I'm with Keith Campagna today, and we've got Erin Michelson from Summery. She's the CEO and founder, and we've been talking about company culture and how science and AI and data is now being able to accurately kind of measure culture. I mean, up to this point, Keith, it's been pretty much everybody's game. Oh, we're looking for people who value what what our mission is, and they hang pre-posters on the wall and have good mission statements. Now the rubber's going to hit the road because people are going to have to walk the talk.
It's so fascinating for me. I mean, first and foremost, I have such a abundant amount of experience working for companies that just do so many posters.
Tell me about it.
And it's crazy. And I was never the quiet sales guy. So it was one of those things where it's like, you just like flash me back to a lot of meaningless posters that I had to look at. But
well, even when they do try to do an effort, and it's not that, but it's tough to measure. I mean, it's for years. I mean, people said, do you have an engagement survey? Do you have an organizational cultural survey? And you do these surveys, and even if they were done well, it was very difficult. So, Erin, when we left off, we were talking about how this fits in the types of companies. And again, you said you were working with a company as small as 100 employees, which is great. And they go up and, there's a process to do it. So I know I'm going to steal Keith's question that he insinuated that we were talking about in the break, because it was one of mine too. So you go in and there's a huge difference that management says, here's what our company values are. And then you look at the people in it and you measure it, and they have a different set of values. And again, I assume that there's no right or wrong values. They're just different.
No, absolutely not. No.
And then you have IT and marketing and sales and accounting, and all those departments have different values, or they're looking for different things. So how do you make all this work? I mean, what do you do with, walk into the company? And again, we're assuming like somebody proactively wants to do it, but then you have, again, a follow-up question might be, you have a toxic culture. You have a company that's just desperate. And out of, they're saying, hey, we need you to come in and tell us what's wrong so we can fix it. But we need a huge mind shift. So we'll come back to that one second. But let's talk about the initial one. A company willingly, proactively, excitedly embraces you. They want to figure this out, but the data comes back and it's all over the board. Where do you go from there?
Assuming that's ever happened.
Right. Yeah, I mean, interesting in that. So, right. So there are no wrong values, right? So we simply, we look at everybody's individual value, and we're fascinated by the unique, perspective of the values. And again, we look through it as, through a lens of kindness for a reason, because we think it's all very positive, right? So just trying to help people better understand their own values and their company understand the values, so that all the employees have, personal and professional fulfillment, which is what we all want. So, what we see most often is that the C-suite might be surprised at the values, but the employees aren't, right? The employees are living it every day. They know when they're just seeing the poster on the wall. They know when somebody's just giving lip service to purpose, right? So usually the employees are not surprised, but the C-suite might be surprised. And again, what we're looking at again and measuring is not the right and wrong values. What we're looking at is the alignment of the values, who they say they are and who they want to be and who they actually are. And again, we score, and you could have an 80, you could have a 90. A super high score may not necessarily be a good thing for you as a company, right? It's a conversation to be had, because if you're in a high innovation business and you have a lot of value profiles that are similar, that may not be a good thing. You might want to introduce a little bit more disruption, and you could do that in a number of different ways. You could do that by recruiting more employees with disruptive personalities. We could look at the current employee base and promote or, model behavior of employees with more disruptive behaviors, which could be a good thing. We could actually do learning. We're doing learning courses around how to encourage disruption and disruptive values within an employee. We can put them in situations where they're rewarded and recognized for disruptive behavior. So again, looking at something like disruption in a really positive way, there's a lot of ways that we can nudge the entire company and that specific individual in that direction.
And I love where I think you've got so many key elements that are in your favor. And you keep bringing up disruption. And one of the topics that has been coming up more and more often is this idea of how challenged HR is by disruption. With all due respect to them, they're simply not in the business of changing a lot. And so there are a lot of habits to overcome. But meanwhile, you take less than 24 hours or let's just say you can have the software set up in 24 hours. It's a quick survey. It's almost something that HR and the executives can benefit from without having to really extend that much of a workload to them. The real work comes after the fact in terms of what do we want to do with the information.
Exactly. And right. I mean, the workload is in the algorithms we built, right? And so, what we're doing is instead of being reactive, and trying to come in when the situation is maybe, misaligned, as we say, or a toxic culture. We view something that's a toxic culture as probably one that's highly misaligned between the values, and to be proactive. So this is a way to actually be proactive, to start identifying areas and groups and teams within the organization, so that the value statements are coming together in a way that's super productive and, as we said, complementary. So, and if you look at it in terms of the ease of use, we purposely didn't build out our own platform. We work with all platforms. And so we'll just, we have APIs built, we'll just build an API into your existing platform. So it's incredibly easy to get this information. As I said, super turnkey for our clients.
And then the next part of it all, Erin, is how timely it is. I think the reality check for a lot of C-levels is going to be happening in the next 6 to 12 months. And who knows, that might be the optimist in me. But it sounds like when the noise starts to get louder and the C-levels start realizing they have to put a lot more time into this silly thing called recruitment and retention and reskilling, it seems a lot like you'll be there at the perfect time. Because to your point, you have a lot of trailblazing proprietary concepts all tied into one. Is there a next level, a next step that you see the organization move? I know you're 2-3 years in, so pretty much every door is open for you at this point. But what's got you most excited about the next 12 months?
Yeah, I think from the corporate perspective, it's this ability that we have to basically measure the S in ESG. So right now you're looking at mandates coming down for environmental, social, and governance metrics that have to be reported, either through regulations like in London and in India. International markets are way ahead of the U.S. in this, where they're actually mandating companies, for instance, in the UK who are listed on the FTSE have to actually report starting in 2020 on their culture. And this is a way to do this. And so we're really excited about the C-suite driven by either your own business interests, which, as we talked about, are very, very real, or by corporate governance through board of directors wanting to understand stakeholder values. You look at the Business Roundtable announcement, you look at BlackRock, you look at these huge companies and organizations saying, again, this is no longer a nice to have. This is something that we must measure, and we're doing it in a way that is not a pulse survey. It's not a Likert scale. Those are unscientific. This is highly based scientific behavioral science questions. So don't be. The ease and the fun of the Kind quiz is very much based in scientific methodology, and so it's a great way to actually do it. But to me, it's excited is to bring in the corporate governance aspect of it, of why this will actually be a stakeholder-driven engagement number that is going to be real for the C-suite to start measuring over the long term.
100%. And you touched on it real quickly, but I want to go back to it in case somebody missed it. In 2018, or maybe 2018, the CEO of BlackRock, one of the largest investment firms, right? They're everywhere, doing everything. Basically announced in his letter to the shareholders that he feels, I'm paraphrasing, definitely Google search it because it's worth the read, that companies now owe it to them, the investment firm, to prove that they're doing the kind of things that could sustain their investment, which means specifically what's going on with your human capital. And, his name is Ryan, I forget his last name, he was an Insperity rep, had used the phrase in front of me. He said that human resources, a resource is something that's used up, but human capital is something that's invested in. And there's this huge shift right now that, for all the the people out there trying to make culture change, who've been wanting it for years, definitely get to Summery's website. Definitely connect with Erin and her team on LinkedIn, because there's a lot of momentum building from their office. Really cool.
Yeah, I mean, we're only going further and further in that direction, right?
Yeah.
We're not going backwards. So that's
Yep.
the good news. Everybody, the business community is now keyed into the importance of culture. That's great. So let's actually have a really great understanding of culture. Let's assess it, measure it, and let's use it for each individual company's advantage, right?
Yeah.
Because it's to the advantage of the employee and it's to the advantage of the company. We want everybody all to be in alignment. That is the goal, because that's when you're going to get high performance teams, and that's when you're going to get the most profitable companies. That's good for everyone.
So Erin, I mean, as people hopefully listen to this show, or and you're out there or find you, and they hear what Keith says and they understand its value, but there's certainly a lot of management, a lot of executives this will resonate with them only because, well, I have to do it, or because this will, the trend is that if we have if we have a purpose, if we have a strong culture, it will make us more money, which it might. Sure. But they grasp it intellectually, but not emotionally. I assume you've had to deal with that you get hired and engaged, but the reality is that they're looking for, like, how are we going to measure this return in 6 months? How have you dealt with
it? Right. Yeah, and like I said, the people that are most surprised are the C-suite, because they believe the culture of the company is what they say it is, and it might be for them. It might be for the 4 to 10 people in the C-suite, but it's not for the bulk of the employees. They actually know. They're not surprised at what the cultural numbers are, right?
So what happens?
And so
let me just stop you there for a second, because we've talked about this a couple of times. What happens when management says this is what our values are, and the social values from the rest of the organization are different. Yeah, they're just way different. How do you, what's that alignment look like? How do you get that on board? Because I can hear a lot of people I deal with.
Does it become
should we get rid of all these people and start over?
Right. Chicken or the egg? Chicken or the egg?
Yeah, no, we're not we're not advocating for that. So what we do is, at first they might be, they do see their score, they see a number, and that is, they do have an emotional reaction to that, But then we also, when we deliver the score, it's with one of our summary reports, which is a 10-page overview of the actual data, and you can't lie with the data. Like, that is what it is, right? This is the value profiles, and so they quickly come around to over like, oh, this is what I thought it was. This is not what I thought it is, to like, holy moly, this is fascinating to be able to understand their employee base at this granular, textured level. So once they see the data, they understand, and we always present the data again with ways to activate the data that are going to meet their objectives, right? And what we think is really important, and I thank Sarah for bringing this up, because we are working with the companies, but we are also empowering the individual. So again, from a data ethics perspective, we're empowering everybody who takes the Kind quiz, regardless, will get their own profile overview. And so they're able to make an assessment as well. So the company are, looking at the employees and saying, is this a great mix for us? Is this a great complementary value mix that we want going forward? And the employees are doing the same thing, right? They could say, this is my value profile. Am I going to be successful at this company? Will I be more successful somewhere else? And just because your values might be not in alignment, that might be a good thing for you. Because again, of the example of a company that needs somebody, let's say, with a little bit more disruption, that could be a great place for you to be. Or you're, highly aligned and you simply move groups. So, if you're looking again at a product development company and maybe you need somebody with a little bit more empathy to make it from, high performing to optimal performance, you recruit somebody within your own company. So we actually see it as an amazing way in terms of the diversity and inclusion lens of promoting and championing people with diverse values who are oftentimes overlooked within a company. So we actually think it's an incredibly strong tool for the individual employee.
It's an enormous tool.
Yeah. So again, I've been doing assessments a long time. I mean, I started out the business. I've been using DISC and
A long
things
time.
for a long. Yeah. I won't ask you what you're saying there, but a lot of times, even something is like DISC and Myers-Briggs, people say, "Oh, this was really good. This was really helpful. Can I use this to hire people?" So how do you deal with that? I mean, would you use this as a hiring or a screening tool to see if people fit? Because I can imagine that will come up or has come up.
Yeah, absolutely. So absolutely, it's a super strong recruiting tool. And again, we're not going for cultural fit. We're going for complementary values, which is different, right, than culture fit. So absolutely, we actually think that it's an incredibly strong recruiting tool, whether or not you hire that employee. Because right there, if you say values are important to me, if you're on the recruiting team at an organization, a big corporation or a small company, and say values are important to us, these are our values, and you ask somebody, and we just look at it as one tool, we're not hiring on the basis of the value profile, but it is one of the tools we're looking at in terms of also experience and functional capability and expertise as well. So we do want to be clear about that. So we ask you, 80% of companies, as you know, are already using tests and quizzes to assess candidates, and so this is one of them. It's just a little bit more fun, and it provides a lot more data to the employee. But by the organization even saying, we care about your values, not like this is who our values are, but also we care about what your values are as an individual and how, what you could bring to the table and how that could actually benefit us all, that's an incredibly positive statement. So right there, you've just gone from somebody who's giving lip service to values to actually activating the values. And so for even just the applicants, you're hiring for a position, you get 100 applicants, those 100 people get their own profile. So that's a gift to them. Yep. Again, Summery makes a donation on behalf of everybody, so they've activated. So right there, you've given a gift to the applicant, even though you may or may not hire them. That is somebody who is really dedicated to the values.
Yeah, absolutely. And I've got we're just barely scratching the surface. We can spend another hour with you. However, we've got 3 minutes left.
Yeah.
So Erin, how can people get in touch with you and you and the company? And because we got to wrap up, unfortunately.
Yeah, absolutely. So definitely go to Summery, so SUMMERY.ai, our website, and you could download, if you go to the science tab, you could download our white paper on our data science methodology for those of you who are really interested in the scientific side of it, or just reach me directly at Erin, at Summery.ai. I'm thrilled to talk to people or reach out on LinkedIn, whatever's most convenient. So, and take the kind quiz, / GGG. So right there, it would be great.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So again, it's thekindquiz.com/GGG, or go to geeksgeezersgoogleization.com and take that by next Tuesday, which is, you can take it anytime, but if we do it next Tuesday, we'll get a donation that
you'll be uploaded tomorrow in about 24 hours. So,
excellent.
Do it then.
Yeah, while you're sitting there on the, watching the football games, just go ahead and take it. It's right on your phone. Super easy. And we'll make the donation announcement the following day. So you'll see, again, your values activated for a really good purpose.
That white paper is a quick read. It's got a lot of great details. So for the executives listening to us, take a listen, take a read. It's not that hard.
So Erin, thanks very much.
Including use case studies, how we're applying it for sure. Thank you.
No. So thank you very, very much. We'll definitely have you back. We got to continue the conversation. I've got a couple questions we'll talk about offline to figure this out, and hopefully you're willing to come back and we'll continue it on. But congratulations and happy Thanksgiving.
Thank you.
Yeah, happy Thanksgiving. Thanks so much, Ira and Keith.
You got it.
So
Cheers.
Keith, here we are. End of another show.
Another Thanksgiving.
Great show for Thanksgiving. We did that last year with Dr. Rick Pimentel.
Oh, we had Dr. Rich.
We had him on right before, and that was a fascinating topic. So, so anyway,
I love how it's all tying together. You look at, just bringing up Dr. Pimentel about how one day we'll figure out how to say his name, about how if you focus on the well-being of your people, you give a little, they'll return it, and then if you use that as a actual culture building concept, I mean, we talk about the future work.
Hopefully the tides are changing.
Yeah.
So we're certainly being disruptive.
If not, everybody needs to listen more to our podcast and learn how.
That's for sure. And we've got another couple weeks coming up for the end of the year, and we got some great shows lined up. So again, thank everybody for listening to Geeks, Geezers, and Googleization. We're always interested in what's on your mind, so let us know how we're doing. Please share the podcast. You can either do that from Spotify, Apple, Google Play, iHeart, SoundCloud, pretty much you name it, or go up to geeksgeezersandoogleization.com. Don't forget to take the kindquiz.com/GGG. Make sure you take that, and we'll be able to have a nice donation thanks to Summery, and we'll announce that next Wednesday. So if you have any other questions, just, again, connect with Keith or me on LinkedIn and Twitter. Don't forget to join Googleization Nation, and happy Thanksgiving, everyone. Have safe travels, happy eating, happy shopping, good football watching. Hope your favorite teams win. And until the next episode of Geeks, Geezers, and Googleization, this is Ira Wolf and Keith Campagna. Don't let the shift hit your plans.